Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most important aspects of your character progression in Verse Peace, traits. These little game changers not only give you a nice boost to your damage and stats, but some of them even unlock powerful weapons that'll make your leveling experience feel like a walk in the park. If you're re-rolling and wondering which traits are worth your time, stick around because we're about to break it down for you. Now, let's get real. Not all traits are created equal, and knowing which ones to prioritize can seriously speed up your journey. Some traits can help you crush opponents in no time, while others might just be a waste of a reroll. In this video, we'll take a closer look at the traits you should be going for to make your character a powerhouse. So grab your gear and let's get into it. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking traits in Verse Peace. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching! The traits in this tier are in order from top left to bottom right: Divine, Special Master, Weapon Master, Hunter Dawn, Superhuman, and Super Neutral. Alright, let's dive into some of the not-so-great traits in Verse Peace. These traits are a bit of a mixed bag, so buckle up because we're about to talk about the D-tier ones, and trust me, you might want to rethink using these if you're aiming for top-tier gameplay. First off, we have Divine. Sure, it gives you a decent 1.25x damage multiplier, plus boosts to your sword and strength stats, 75 and 50 respectively. Sounds nice on paper, right? But here's the catch: it's rare at a 5% drop rate, which makes it hard to come by. Even with that nice multiplier, there are better traits out there that give you more consistent boosts across the board. It's good, but not good enough to make you jump for joy. Then there's Special Master, which also provides a 1.25x damage multiplier, but focuses on your special stat with a plus 75 boost. The rarity is the same at 5%, but here's the thing. If your build doesn't revolve around special moves, this trait will just be a letdown. Sure, it boosts your damage, but it's a one-trick pony. You need to pair it with a strong special heavy setup to make it truly shine, and not everyone plays like that. Next up is Weapon Master. This trait gives you the same 1.25x damage multiplier, but only a plus 25 boost to your sword stat. The thing is, when you're trying to max out your damage potential, a 25 stat boost doesn't really cut it, especially when compared to other traits that offer way more bang for your buck. It's like getting the smallest slice of pizza at a party. Sure, it's something, but you're probably going to want more. Moving on to Hunter Dawn, which offers a 1.15x damage multiplier. While the number seems lower than the others, it might actually be a better option for certain builds. The problem is, it's still in the rare category with a 5% drop rate, so it's not exactly a trait you can easily get your hands on. If you're not running a hunter-focused build, you might just end up wasting a valuable spot in your trait lineup. Now, let's talk about Superhuman. This trait gives you a solid 1.25x damage multiplier just like the others, but it doesn't add anything extra to your stats. No sword strength or special boosts here, just straight up damage. It's a decent pick if you're looking for a straightforward damage boost, but when it comes to long-term progression and versatility, there are better traits that bring more to the table. Finally, we have Super Neutral. It gives you a 1.05x damage multiplier, and it's the most common of the bunch with a 30% drop rate. However, the low multiplier just doesn't make it competitive. It's definitely better than nothing, but if you're looking for something that'll actually put you ahead, this trait won't cut it. If you're relying on this for a boost, you're probably going to be left in the dust as the stronger traits leave you behind. It's the kind of trait that'll make you go, meh, I guess it's fine. So there you have it. The D-tier traits in Verse Peace are a bit underwhelming. While some of them do give you a small boost to damage, they lack the versatility or high-impact effects you'll need to dominate the game. Always remember, you can't just rely on these traits to carry you through tough battles. Instead, focus on building around the traits that give you bigger, more consistent advantages. The traits in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: Zenin, Heavenly Restriction, King, Zoldyck, Godlike, Spiritual, and Armageddon. Alright, let's talk about the C-tier traits in Verse Peace, and why they're not exactly the best, but still worth considering. I know. C-tier doesn't sound too exciting, but trust me, there's still some hidden value here that can make a difference in certain situations. So grab your snacks, because we're diving deep into these traits and breaking them down one by one. First up, we have Zenin. This trait gives you a solid x 1.75 damage multiplier and a pretty sweet boost of plus 200 to both your defense and sword stats. Not too shabby, right? Plus, you'll need it to wield Maki's weapon, which is pretty dope if you're trying to hit like a truck. So while it might not be top tier, it's certainly a handy trait for certain builds. Next, we've got Heavenly Restriction. Again, a x 1.75 damage multiplier, but this one throws in a little bonus with 1/100 to all stats. Now, that's definitely a nice boost to everything you've got. You'll also need it for the Toji sword, which, let's be real, is one of the more iconic weapons in the game. The versatility here makes it solid enough for those who want a balanced approach, even though it doesn't hit the high ranks. Now, let's talk about King. This trait comes with a x 1.75 damage multiplier, but what sets it apart is the stat boosts. You get plus 150 to defense and plus 75 to strength. So, if you're looking for a tanky, strength-based build, King is definitely something to think about. It's a bit more defensive than others in this tier, and those extra defense points are useful for taking some hits while dishing out the damage. Then, we have Zoldyck. It's a bit more niche with a x 1.5 damage multiplier, but the real kicker here is the plus 350 to defense and special stats. This trait is basically made for those who want to tank damage while maximizing their special abilities. And if you're working on unlocking the Killua spec, you'll need this trait, making it a must-have for those particular builds. Now, moving on to Godlike. This trait gives a x 1.5 damage multiplier and boosts your defense, sword, and special stats by plus 50. It's versatile enough to fit into a few different builds, especially if you're aiming for a balanced approach with a bit of everything. But it's not as impactful as the higher tier traits, so don't expect it to completely carry you in tougher fights. Finally, let's talk about Spiritual and Armageddon. Both are pretty solid for what they are. Spiritual offers a x 1.5 damage multiplier with plus 25 to strength and defense, making it a nice little bonus for a more tanky, strength-based build. But if you want pure offensive power, Armageddon gives you plus 150 to strength, which is a huge boost if you want to hit like a freight train. It might lack some defensive perks, but it's perfect for those who want to lean into raw damage. So there you have it. C-tier traits might not be the showstoppers, but they've got their place in the game. Whether you're looking for balance, tankiness, or that extra edge in specific builds, these traits can still be part of your strategy. They won't always shine, but when used right, they can definitely make a difference. Let me know which C-tier trait you like best and how you use them in your builds. The traits in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: Demon Lord, Shadow King, the Alpha and the Omega, Rage Revenge, Honored One, and Soul Punisher. Let's talk about the B-tier traits in Verse Piece. Now, I know when you hear B-tier, you might think, not bad, but not top tier either. But let me tell you, these traits pack a punch in their own unique ways, and you'll definitely want to consider them when building your character. So, grab your sword, and let's dive into these bad boys. First up, we have the Demon Lord trait. This one gives you a x3 damage multiplier and boosts your special and defense stats by a solid plus 2,500. Sounds pretty insane, right? It's one of those traits that's great for dishing out the damage while keeping your defenses up. But here's the catch. It's an exotic trait with only a 0.25% drop rate. So yeah, good luck with that. But if you manage to snag it, it's totally worth the grind. Next in line is Shadow King. Also rocking a x3 damage multiplier, this one boosts all your stats by 500. On top of that, it's needed to unlock the mighty CD-V2 sword. It's an exotic trait too, with that same 0.25% drop rate. So don't get too comfortable. But imagine walking around with a Sid V2 sword and the Shadow King trait. Talk about a flex. Then we've got the Alpha and the Omega. This trait offers a x2.5 damage multiplier, plus a hefty plus 2,500 boost to your sword and defense stats. If you're looking to wield the Virgil sword, then this is your golden ticket. It's an exotic trait with that same 0.025% drop rate, so you better hope the RNG gods are smiling on you. But hey, it's all worth it for that extra edge in battle, right? Now, let's talk about Rage Revenge. This one brings a x2.5 damage multiplier to the table, plus a nice mix of stat boosts, plus 750 to defense and special, and plus 250 to strength and sword. This one's perfect if you want a balanced approach, with a little bit of everything. It's another exotic trait with a 0.025% drop rate, so if you get this one, consider yourself lucky. Alright, let's slow it down a bit with Honored One. This trait might not have the crazy damage multiplier of the others, but it still brings a x2 damage multiplier and boosts all your stats by plus 250. The real kicker here, though, is the Honored One title, which gives you x2 money and XP multiplier. This one's a mythic trait with a 0.1% drop rate, And if you're looking to level up fast and stack up those resources, this one's a game changer. Last but not least, we have Soul Punisher. This one offers a x2 damage multiplier and gives you plus 375 to defense and special stats. It's not as flashy as some of the others, but it's still a solid choice, especially if you're looking to tank hits while dishing out some decent damage. It's a mythic trait too, with that 0.1% drop rate, so it's rare but definitely attainable if you're willing to put in the work. And there you have it. The B-tier traits in Verse Peace are nothing to scoff at. They may not be as flashy as the top-tier traits, but they're definitely solid picks depending on your playstyle. Keep grinding, and who knows, you might just get lucky and snag one of these bad boys. The traits in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Betrayer, Chosen One, Rejected Zenin, and Fisherman. Alright, let's dive straight into some of the best traits in Verse Peace. These bad boys can seriously boost your character's abilities and make all the difference in battle. Whether you're grinding for that perfect trait or just curious about what's out there, I've got you covered. So grab your gear because we're going in. First up, we've got Betrayer. And let me tell you, this trait is a game changer. With a crazy x7.5 damage multiplier, you can dish out some serious hurt to your enemies. Plus, you're getting an insane plus 7,500 to your defense stat, making you tougher than ever. It's a trait you want if you're looking to go all in on damage, without worrying too much about taking a beating. To unlock it, you'll need to complete the Betrayer quest. If you're ready to put in the work, this one's totally worth it. Next on the list is Chosen One. This one's a little rarer, but packs quite the punch. You'll get a solid x5 damage multiplier, which is already amazing. But the real kicker is the plus 5,000 boost to all stats. Yes, all stats. That means you're getting an all-around boost to your character, making you more powerful in every aspect. The downside? It's an exotic trait with a 0.05% drop rate. So, you're going to have to get lucky, but when you do, it'll feel like you hit the jackpot. Now, let's talk about Rejected Zenin. Don't let the name fool you. This trait is far from rejected when it comes to power. With a x6.5 damage multiplier and a whopping plus 1 to 1,000 to all stats, this trait will make you a beast on the battlefield. But here's the catch. It's needed to unlock Toji Unleashed. So if you're aiming for that, this trait is a must-have. Just keep in mind it's another exotic trait, but this one has a 0.025% drop rate. You'll need to put in some serious grind for it, but the payoff is totally worth it. Moving on to something a little different, we've got Fisherman. Now if you're into fishing, and who isn't, this trait is going to make your life a whole lot easier. It doesn't directly boost your combat power, but it makes fishing so much more rewarding. With faster fishing speeds and better rewards from each catch, you'll be swimming in resources in no time. This one's legendary with a 0.63% drop rate, so it's a bit more common compared to the others, but still a solid find if you're looking to power up your fishing game. Alright, so now that we've gone over these, it's clear that each of these traits offers something special. Whether you're boosting your damage, your stats, or even your fishing efficiency, you're going to see a huge difference when you add them to your setup. But of course, the grind is real. Some of these traits are a bit rare, so be ready to put in some effort to get your hands on them. But trust me, it's going to be so worth it when you do. So, what's your favorite trait so far? Are you grinding for one of these or already rocking one of them? Let me know in the comments. The traits in this tier are in order from top left to bottom right: Black Silence, Son of Rowan, and Monarch. Alright, let's talk about the absolute game changers in Verse Peace. The S-tier traits. You know, the ones that make you feel like a boss while slapping your enemies around. First up, we've got Black Silence. And trust me, it lives up to the name. It comes with a monstrous x7.5 damage multiplier. If that's not enough to get you excited, how about plus 25,000 talers to both sword and special stats? That's right, you're going to be slicing and dicing your way through enemies with ease. The catch? Well, it's a pretty rare one, with only a 0.005% chance of getting it. But hey, if you're aiming for Roland, this is a must-have trait. Next on the list is the mighty Son of Rowan. This one's an absolute powerhouse, boosting your damage multiplier by x8, which is already insane. And the plus 17,500 to your defense? You'll be tanking hits like a pro. But here's where things get spicy. To unlock this beauty, you'll need to complete the Son of Rowan quest. It's not easy, but if you manage to do it, you'll have a trait that gives you a ridiculous damage boost, and solid defense all wrapped up in one. Plus, it's essential if you're gunning for Rowan, so start grinding. Then, there's Monarch. Now this trait is all about versatility. The XC 6.5 damage multiplier is pretty solid, but where it really shines is in its plus 10,000 boost to all stats. That's right, all stats. Whether you're looking to beef up your attack, defense, or anything in between, Monarch has your back. It's an exotic trait with a 0.025% drop rate, so while it's not as rare as Black Silence, it's still a tough one to snag. But if you're aiming for Sung Jin Woo, Monarch is your ticket. These traits are not just game changers, they're must-haves if you're looking to dominate in verse piece. Whether you're after insane damage, unbeatable defense, or a mix of both, these S-tier traits have got you covered. So if you're lucky enough to get your hands on one, get ready to wreak havoc on anyone who dares cross your path. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.